Today's episode is going to be a bit different. I reached out to my community on WhatsApp. By the way, if you want to join that community, it's a direct line to me. You can do that. The number is +27 63 681 6410. Let me repeat, +27 63 681 6410. The two of us can have a direct chat. If you ever need any support or any assistance, you have any questions, you can just pop that on the text line and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. But anyway, I reached out to my community on WhatsApp and asked them whether anybody would be interested in doing an online teaching webinar. So I asked them, I need a minimum of about 5 teachers to join. And then suddenly I had 80 teachers joining the webinar. So what I thought of doing is to record the webinar and then share it on all my social media sites. So whether you're listening to this as a podcast or on Facebook or on YouTube, that doesn't matter. I just want to see or spread this to so many people as an example of what an online class could look like. Now, of course, I've made many mistakes and I'm totally okay with that. That's part of the process. It's learning, it's practicing while doing. So what it does do is it's 2 things. It's first of all an example of what an online class can look like. And then secondly, I'm talking about like do's and don't do's or how to approach online teaching. So wherever you are listening to this, whether you are struggling through lockdown and you're doing some professional development, watching videos like this, whether you're drinking a cup of tea or prepping your own online lessons and decided to take a break, I just want you to take as much value from this as you possibly can. So sit back, relax, let's educate. That's it. Thank you everybody for being so early. We are 1 minute away from starting the webinar, just waiting for a few people to join in. Going to allow a good minute or 2 minutes before we start, just with some initial housekeeping and stuff. I'm just having a look at the participants here. I'm actually quite overwhelmed with everything happening at the moment. It's interesting to see so many people having interest on this topic. I know it's not necessarily interest in me talking to you about the topic. It's more about you wanting to know more about the topic, and that's also great. I want to start off immediately by asking everybody just to mute their microphones and their videos. I have activated this the setting on Zoom to not allow people to come in, or when they come in, to be muted. And that the videos would be muted. It just helps with bandwidth, just to ensure that everybody can participate in this webinar. I know not everybody's got the same access to the internet, so we really want to save on bandwidth as much as possible. And this is going to be a reality for our children as well. So what I'm going to try and do throughout this is to ensure that I try and model best practice when it comes to online teaching while I'm talking about online teaching in the same vein. So I'm just quickly doing some audience managing, making sure that I mute everybody's video. So as you come in, please ensure that you've muted your video. You'll see that in typical webinars, it's possible for me to unmute everybody on video. I'll speak to that in a moment, but the challenge is, let's go. The challenge is I never expected there to be this many people. As I said in the email, for those who have received the email, that we started initially with just 5 people. I reached out to the WhatsApp group. At that stage, we were only, what was it, about 5, we were 50 people on the group. And I said, if I get 5 people for this webinar, then we can actually get going and I'll do this. So then what happened, I pushed it out to social media, and the next thing you know, we've got a lot of participants. We're already on 54. I'm expecting more people to join within the next 2-3 minutes. While we do that, I'm going to ask everybody to please just mute their videos. I'm trying to scroll through the participants here, just see whose videos are still on. So if you can mute your audio, if you can mute your, well, not your audio, mute your mic, mute your video. That would be great. I'm not sure why some people, we'll sort this out soon. Anyway, let's see if we do that. There we go. So in many cases, if you use a platform like this, when you teach, you will have to manage the participants. You'll see in the bottom of the screen, most likely there is a button that says Manage Participants. That's where you'd be able to manage the people. I also want to let you quickly know that there is a chat box available. If you look at the bottom, you'll see there is a chat window. I want everybody to please test out their chat window, and just, if we maybe can start off, just pop in there where you are from, let's say in the country, and then what grade you are teaching, whether it is primary school, your foundation phase, intermediate phase, senior phase, FET, or maybe even tertiary. I've got many of my colleagues also from the university side also joining in. It would be great if you could just pop that into the chat box. While you're doing this, one of the great features is I've set our chat to save afterwards, so then I can have a look at everybody's questions afterwards and maybe respond. So that's a possibility. I'm also recording, because what's going to happen is I'm going to post this onto my YouTube channel. By the way, let's plug it in from the start. Go check out Super Teachers Unite if you haven't done so already. It is the name I give to the show, where I interview the superheroes of education, where we learn from their journey so that we all can improve our practice. So please have a look at the chat. If you can pop in who you are, where you come from. This is wonderful. We're already on 63 participants. I'm expecting a few more. By the way, our room can only handle 100 participants. On the paid version of Zoom, we can go for much larger audience. So unfortunately, because I thought we'll be like max maybe 15, I didn't opt for the paid version. Okay, so thanks for everybody who popped in here. I'm just going to look at a few. Daffy from Vanderbilt Park, first additional language. Thank you for being here. I see Dorette. I see Anisha. Great having you here, all the way from Potchefstroom. You're a lecturer at Northwest University. Great colleague, and I'm going to put you on the spot immediately. Everybody, just in your mind, just send a lot of well wishes to Anisha. She completed a PhD. It's amazing. Dr. Libbe, nice having you here with us. Thank you very much for everybody. I'm going to start within the next minute. A few things. You'll be able to see that you can react. So if you go on, you'll see at the bottom there are reactions. You've got a few. There's a wave and there is a thumbs up, so you can respond like that. There's also the opportunity for you to say yes, no, go slower, go faster, more. And I like the more. There's a thumbs up, a thumbs down. You've got the little hand. You've got coffee, that if we need to take a break, which this is a 40-minute webinar, so we most likely won't need to take a break. And there's also a button where you can say that you're away. But those are nice reactions to use when you are engaging with me, because not everybody's going to be able to respond. For the final time, I'm going to ask, can we please mute our mics? And sorry, Linda, I just unmuted you. Now you're back. I'm just going to stop your videos. This is much easier on the paid version of Zoom when you host a webinar. There we go. All righty. Few things that I just housekeeping wise, as I said, I am recording. It will be shared on the YouTube channel. I'll also make this available as a podcast, so that'll all be there. Just to give you the best possible opportunity, because I'm going to use a presentation while I'm doing the webinar, for you to have the best possible experience. Now, this is possible for people using their desktops. It's not so possible for people using their phones. But if you go to stop video, you see at the bottom there, stop video. In the bottom left-hand corner of your video, there's a stop video. And next to it, there's a little arrow. If you click on that, it takes you to video settings. If you can click on video settings, and then there are possibly two places where you can find this. If you click on general, there might be a button that says side-by-side view. If you can click on that, or side-by-side mode. If it's not under general, it's under share screen. It says side-by-side mode. So don't click on the stop video itself, because that's either going to unmute your video or it's going to mute your video. Preferably, I want everybody to mute their videos. But the little arrow next to it, if you click on it, it says video settings. You click on video settings. It takes you to a screen. On the left-hand side of that screen, there's either general, video, audio, share screen, chat, all of that. Under general, you might have side-by-side mode, or under share screen, you might have side-by-side mode. Can I just see it for a quick indication? If everybody could just give me either a yes or a thumbs up, if you manage to sort that out. Just having a look at the participants. Thank you. Anita, I see you saying general content sharing side by side. Thank you so much. Okay, awesome stuff. That gives you the best possible experience of this presentation. And this is what I would also suggest you do if you ever use this platform to teach. What I'd like you to do, there would now be, as soon as I start the presentation, let's maybe do that. I'm going to share my screen with you. So there you go. You would now see the presentation that I started. And you would also see a little thumbnail of me in your view. If you can take that thumbnail and you can drag it and make it a little bit bigger, preferably 50% of me on the screen and 50% of the presentation on the screen. That's the best possible view for this. And there's a reason why I do this. Remember, your presentation as a teacher isn't your entire lesson. You as the teacher, you as the presenter is very important whenever you do online teaching. Your facial expressions, your engagement with your learners or with the audience is extremely important. And now it's weird. Doing online or remote teaching is weird. This isn't natural for us. We love being in front of the class. We love seeing the kids. So that's how we naturally teach. Now you need to get used to not seeing the kids in front of you. And what a lot of people do is they tend to look at the screen and look at themselves teaching. And what you basically see is just my forehead, which is not really a very appealing piece of my body. So what you need to try and do is make eye contact with your camera. So that should be the eye contact that you make with your learners, or the eye contact that you make with your audience. So that's quite important. What I'm going to quickly do on my side, I want to open up the participants on one side, and I want to open up the chat also, just so I can keep an eye on that. While we continue, you are welcome to ask questions as we go along. Yeah, Lorraine says she sees my face, but not she can't hear me speaking. What you can quickly do is check in the bottom left-hand corner. There's the audio setting. Click on the little arrow and just test your audio and video. If you click on test, it's going to ask you, are you hearing anything? Then you say yes. It will ask you, are you can you see anything? So it records your video and then your sound, but you won't need your sound. So if you click on that, that's perfect. I love how everybody is assisting each other in the chat. That's amazing. That's exactly what I would expect from my learners as well, is to assist everybody in the chat. So if you are more familiar with Zoom and you'd like to maybe moderate, like to assist others, please use the chat for that. At the end of the day, this is a community. This is just not, I'm just going to share my information with you, and the rest of us are here to assist each other. And that's what being a super teacher is all about, is creating this community and assisting our colleagues. Okay, so what I want to achieve with today, we only have 40 minutes for a session like this because it's not the paid platform of Zoom. But if this session were to time out at the end, what you can do is just re-click on the same link. Just give me 2 or 3 minutes to just open up the meeting once again. click on the link again. As far as I know, Zoom will then just open this meeting again. I am going to try and cover everything that I want to chat to you about within the 40-minute session, which is now probably reduced to about 30 minutes, but that's also fine. This is going to be a very high-level discussion about remote teaching. So from my side, I'm going to share the few things that I know about it, and then at the end, I'm going to have a question and answer session, but we're going to do it in twofold. Please use the chat to put in any questions you might have as we go along. I'll screen that and go through that as we continue. But then also, if time allows, but then if we start the new session, we'll do a Q&A in person as much as I possibly can. So for those of you that are here just for the information, you're welcome. You can lurk. You can just watch the entire session and then afterwards clock out and use all of the great information you got today in your own teaching, or you can engage with me afterwards in the Q&A session. As I said, I'm going to try and model as much as possible good online teaching behavior as a teacher in this instance. So it can be quite meta. So I'm going to jump from the actual content to also assisting with what you typically do when you teach. So this took up quite a lot of time just to do the housekeeping for this meeting. So one of the things you need to know of immediately is that online teaching takes longer. Whenever you do a synchronous session like this, it takes much, much longer than you expect. Typically in the classroom, you'd expect the kids to move in like 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes, be behind their desks, get out their books, whatever. But it takes quite a lot of time and takes longer for us to set up meetings like this. But that's also only initially. As soon as all your participants get used to online modalities, they'll know when to be ready, that their mic should be off, that their video should be off to start off with. All of those things will come naturally and we will speed up. Right, cool. So I'm going to start with my presentation. And I'm going to start us off with a very negative slide. I want us to do a little invitation phase exercise in the chat. When you see this slide, I want you to please use the little thinking game of I see, I think, I wonder. And it would be amazing if you could put that in your chat. So there's a little prompt. I see. So what you are seeing, just the first thing that comes to mind, I see, and you type. The second thing is, I think. I think, and you type. And then the third one, I wonder. And you, so it's basically completing the sentence. It's an open-ended sentence which you complete. I see, I think, I wonder. And I'm very, very intrigued to see what is going to pop up in our chat. So already I've started my invitation phase of an online lesson. You are all engaged. You've got all the opportunity to participate in the online lesson. Okay, I'm quickly going to look at some of the responses we have. I'm going to scroll up. Okay, so I see people. That's a good one. Luckily, you didn't do the sixth sense thing of saying, I see dead people. But that's, I see elimination, Roy Kruise. Good, let's see if we can have a few others that say, I think. I think, let me see what I think negativiteit. I think it is unnecessary. I see people losing their jobs. Interesting. I think the time to act is now. Nelia, thank you for that. I think that's very important. And let's see where the I wonders are. I wonder who makes the decision. That's also, Nelia, you too. I wonder who makes the decision of whose jobs will be lost. I wonder if it is the future. Zani, thank you for that. Let's see others for I wonder. I wonder if it will be me. Marna, that's exactly what I think majority of us are asking ourselves. just going meta again, talking about our specific issues at the moment in teaching, we've all now had an opportunity to engage. There are so many messages coming in, which is awesome. Everybody is engaged already, or majority of you at least, is engaged in the activity. We still start our lessons like we would have started a normal lesson with an invitation phase. Just something to get us thinking. Now, I started this off by saying you will lose your job. There are, of course, a lot of caveats with this, but it is most likely that a lot of people are going to lose their job in the future. If we look at the current trends of what's happening in America, unemployment is rising. We're already in a country with a lot of unemployment. We don't know what the effect of COVID-19 is going to be on our economy and on our jobs. If I can be as bold as to make some predictions, and even if these predictions don't come true, I think it's good that we guard ourselves against this. There are some extreme financial difficulties coming our way within the next 6 to 18 months. Many people are going to lose their jobs, which in fact is going to have an impact on us, either directly, whether it's you or your spouse or parent, which is going to be unemployed, whether it's going to be one of the kids in your class whose parents are going to be unemployed. That's going to be one of the effects. But now here's the challenge, especially I think for our private schools. Parents are going to ask, why do I need to pay all of this money to a private school when I can get a comparable level of education for my child, either at home, because what's been shown in the last 2 weeks is that it's quite possible for a few of our kids to receive tuition at home, or the private schools are going to, or the parents are going to ask, if an X Model C school or a decent school can give my child the same or a comparable level of education for about the same price, or well, not the same price, for a much cheaper price, then why not just move my child to a government school? I'm foreseeing that we're going to see a lot of retrenchments in the private sector. I'm foreseeing some private schools closing down, or at least downsizing. So which could have an effect on you, which will have a spillover effect into the classroom, because then our classes become even bigger. Our departmental posts might be safe for a while, but our other challenge is going to be our SGB posts. Will our schools and our governing bodies still have enough money to pay these teachers? So there might be a big ripple effect with regards to this. Now, I apologize immediately for starting off on such a negative note, but I think it's important for us to keep this in mind, because we need to now adjust ourselves and upskill ourselves to ensure that we aren't the people that get cut first. If I can go back to the comment, I wonder if I will be first, if I will be one of the people being cut. Now, if you are an individual that is a big resource to your school, if you're an individual that's really resourceful and provides value, then you might not be the first person to be cut. Once again, it's unclear, it's uncertain, and maybe you feel like this at the moment. I know, sure, with all of the people that I'm coaching, and I'm seeing many of the teachers that I'm currently coaching in the chat as well. Thank you so much for being here. What I'm seeing is that for many of you, we are drowning. We are feeling like this is so overwhelming. We're not used to this. What COVID-19 has done is it's accelerated the adoption of online learning. So if you feel like this and you would like to respond, maybe raise your hand and say, me, I am also in this boat. I feel anxious. I feel insecure. Maybe some of you say, and I've had this from many of the teachers who I coach, say, I'm born BC. I'm born before computers. I don't know how to use this. I much rather want to teach in the way I used to teach. So if you feel similarly and you feel comfortable with sharing that, just put a tick, say yes, or raise your hand or something like that, because I sure as hell know I feel overwhelmed many times. And some of my teachers and the ones that I work with closely also feel like this. Many people say, you know what, I'm not a techie. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're old. It's not just old people, okay, that say, or should I say, are experienced teachers that say, oh, I'm not a techie, or I'm born BC, I'm struggling with this. I've got many millennial teachers that I work with, students, because I also teach at the University of Johannesburg. many students say, you know what, I don't like using tech. I'd much rather just teach face-to-face, hands-on, and using tech. I'm not a techie. Unfortunately, this now needs to end. We need to all embrace this. We can all sit back and we can all say, you know what, this is so overwhelming. I'm just going to give up. Maybe I should become an Uber driver or something like that. Or maybe I should just do something else with my life. This is not for me. I want to tell you, relax. We can do this. Anisha, thank you for that. You can do this. I like that. Tough situations build strong people. I love your positivity. We need more positivity. So I wanted to share this with you. Now, if they can, you can. I actually wanted to put up the photos of the teachers that I currently coach, but I don't have the consent to do it, and I don't want to put them on the spot like that. So forgive me for using stock images for this, but I want to bring a point across. If you can find somebody that is like you, that looks like you, that's the same age as you, same race, same gender, whatever. If you can find one individual that looks like you, that has done it, that means you can do it too. You just need to go look for them. If you say you're too old and I feel like I can't do this, go look for our senior teachers who are doing this capably. And I'm sure in our community, they would be able to share examples of people who you wouldn't think would be one of the first individuals to embrace technology, to actually exceed at it. Go find examples of your colleagues who can do this and work closely with them, because this is how we learn. If you can find one person who's in exactly the same situation as you are, who can do and achieve this, then you can do it too. Nobody is expecting of you to be this amazing tech guru from the get-go. Small steps, very, very small steps. And I'm going to give a few tips as we go on. The challenge I have with a short session like this is I can't go into detail. You'll see in the email registration I sent out, I asked you by the end of this, what do you need? What do you want to know? What would you like to be able to do? And I can't answer everybody. So what I've done for the remainder of this presentation, I took some of the responses or the comments that I got, and I just wanted us to address these. I can go in a lot more depth on a one-on-one basis with you. If you're a school that needs assistance with this, of course, I can jump in and assist with that. But what I want to do for the rest is just quickly share some tips on how to approach online learning or remote learning that I think is a great misconception or a great concern for many people. So let's jump into that. The first thing, and I think this is the most important thing, is don't let the tech determine your teaching. Don't let you now suddenly we have to use technology, and now we want to use all of the technology that we possibly can and then adapt our teaching to the technology. This is one of the biggest mistakes people make when they want to do online teaching. It should be the other way around. You are still in control of your lesson. You should design lessons. You still need to have your objectives and your aims in mind for your lesson, but then find the technology that supplements or supports your teaching. Don't try and retrofit it. Don't go look for the tech. You've heard this one teacher used this app. Now you are also going to use that app. I mean, none of us teach that way. It's one way to learn new skills. But when you're alone in your classroom and you teach and you design your lesson, you do that because you've got a specific thing in mind. You know the situation of your kids. You know who is sitting in front of you because you understand your children and you engage with them and you've built a relationship with the kids. So you know how to customly design a lesson for them. Once you know what the needs are, what the situation analysis is, then you go and look for the tech that supports your teaching. Don't do it the other way around. Great. As I said, I'm going to just pump through these topics, these tips, so that everybody we can get to the Q&A towards the end. The next thing I want to get to is that the parents are the key to success. And this is actually true for education. It's been like that forever. The parents are actually the ones in charge of the child's education. They get to choose to which schools they go to. They get to choose exactly the experience that their kids get by associating them with a school or with a teacher. Even more than ever, it is now important to build relationships with parents. The parents are frustrated, they are overwhelmed because they are trying to run their jobs and their livelihoods. And as we said in the beginning, many of their jobs are on the line. So they are focusing and hustling very hard to keep their jobs. But now they also need to ensure the education of their kids. This is a challenge. They need our support now more than they ever could. If our mandate is to ensure the education of the children, we now are going to do it through the parents even more. So we need to support them. One of the tips I can give is, and it's not what's the word? It's not a very, what's the word? See, my English data runs out every now and again, but it's not, many of my colleagues are criticizing me on this point, but I am embracing WhatsApp. You all know that I've started this WhatsApp hotline service where you can engage with me one-on-one. The challenge with WhatsApp and typical WhatsApp is that if you create a group, you either have the admin group where you just broadcast and there's no engagement or facilitating happening, or if you open the group, you get these WhatsApp mothers who just pop onto the group and they overtake, and then you get memes and everything else, and you're seeing everybody's stuff. I'm getting a message that we've got 10 minutes left. We'll just restart this as soon as it ends, which is going to be a challenge for me. Anyway, so the parents are the key to the success. I've used this WhatsApp service as, I'm using WhatsApp for business. It's not a typical group. I can broadcast to everybody, but you can engage with me one-on-one. That's one of the things that I would suggest. Then learners pay with attention. We always want the kids to pay attention. But if we don't listen to the words that we're saying here, we're going to be in trouble. Paying attention. That means there needs to be a transaction. We need to transact. You need to give something that's worth being paid for in attention. It's about driving engagement. How do you ensure that kids engage with their lesson? There are so many distractions currently at the moment. There are so many issues happening. So if our kids are being distracted, that means the onus is on us and the responsibility is on us to create engaging lessons that would keep their attention as we would have done in the class, but now there's extra dimensions to this and we need to sort that out. So keep in mind that your lessons need to drive engagement. Start with what you have. Now, I've put in an image of devices because that's important. How do kids access? And that's a major issue. That's a major challenge for many of our kids is access to the internet, access to data, access to devices. And unfortunately, on a one-on-one level, we are not going to solve that. We need bigger players to get on board and assist us with this. So for now, you need to determine what are the devices your kids have and adapt your teaching to that. This goes for this file sizes of files that you share. Remember, videos take up a lot of space. Then text messages are typically the best. Voice notes work very well. Little podcasts work well. And then, of course, images and documents take up data. So we need to really think about how can we use the data and compress as much as we can. If you're using videos, apps like Handbrake really work. It helps us to reduce the file size. When you convert Word documents into PDFs, it reduces the file sizes. So there are many tips and tricks. By the way, if I can jump into this, there are so many tips and tricks available online for free. If you Google it, if you go onto YouTube, there are so many tips and tricks. I think the problem is people want to know where to start. You may feel overwhelmed, but start with what you have. You already have PowerPoint presentations, or you already have projects that you're doing with the kids normally. What you now need to do is transcribe or translate that into an online modality. even if it's just you recording over your presentation that you already have. That's a start. It's one way of going about it. You can, in time, upgrade and do more things, but you need to start somewhere that you're already familiar with. You're not starting from scratch, okay? You already have things that you are doing. You're a capable, competent teacher. Start with the things you already do and then use that to build on and translate onto an online modality. I'm seeing some people are experiencing audio problems. If that's true for everybody, I believe there would have been a bigger challenge. I like this quickly in the chat. Somebody's saying she's got a separate number for a cell phone for WhatsApp. I'm doing the same. I've got my personal number. You guys don't have my personal number, but you've got my WhatsApp hotline number. Which is a separate phone, a separate SIM card, so that you can keep the separation between your personal life and your professional life. I think that's still very important. Okay, so let's jump into the next one. I'm still not seeing any, the time. Okay, we've got 5 minutes. I'm going to rush through this so that we can get to the Q&A. The Q&A is going to be a separate session. Everybody, once this one times out, just click on your link again and it will bring us back to this meeting. I hope so. Anyway, by the way, can you see how I'm like repeating myself? With online, you actually repeat yourself more often than you did in class. And for many of us, we go like, what the hell? We're already repeating ourselves so often. Anyway, you should over-prepare. You should absolutely over-prepare. If this is, and I'm not talking necessarily about the lesson, of course, being prepared for the lesson itself, but in using tech, you need to get familiar with using the tech. Use it as often as you can, practice as often as you can. Next one, beware of app fatigue. You are going to now, you're probably on some WhatsApp groups, you already heard of so many different apps that you can use to teach, and now you're jumping around. You're having your kids installing this app, and then your parents should have this app, and then you are using this and that and this and that and this and that. Stop it. Pick a handful of apps that you are using. There are amazing apps available. If you, we can't even get into it now because the session is too short, but pick a handful of apps and like make sure that you know them well and you use their functionalities well. It helps build now there goes that word again, familiarity. Wow. It builds familiarity with the kids and with you so that it speeds up the activities that you want to do. Use the apps that you know and pick a handful of them to use. Maybe in the Q&A, we can talk about some of the apps. Should you teach using synchronous methods or asynchronous methods? Synchronous means what we're doing now. Everybody is together at one time, learning at the same time. Asynchronous is, for instance, if you make a little video lecture and you share that with the entire class, they get to view the lecture whenever they've got time to do it. If you give instructions, you make a pre-recording, maybe voice note that you make with instructions. You send that so that they can listen to it over and over and over again so that you don't have to repeat yourself the whole time. And then they do the activity in their own time. That would then mean that is asynchronous. I think a good blend of the two is important, where you've got sessions, short lecture sessions or short sessions when you are together, maybe allowing some engagement, allowing some group work. You'll be able to see that in Zoom, you can create breakaway rooms. We've got, let's say we've got 76 people in here at the moment. What you can do is create little breakaway groups for group work. And you as the teacher have got access to the little breakaway groups where the kids engage with each other. So that would be a synchronous model. Cool, we've got 2 minutes left. What about assessment? Beware of over-assessing, especially in a crisis like this, but in general, actually. When it comes to assessment, it's important to have quality assessments, maybe combine assessments with a few other colleagues where you use a project-based approach. For 3 different subjects, they do one project, but you've got 3 separate rubrics to assess. that makes the load on the kids and the parents a bit less, but you still can achieve the assessment outcomes that you want. I'm a big fan of quality assessment and not necessarily quantity of assessment. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to end us off here before we start off the next session. So everybody just go and click on the next look. Your homework is to go and try this. Take Zoom, take Google Meets, take Microsoft Teams, I don't care, but schedule one session with one of your colleagues or somebody at home and then just go and do it. I'll see you in the next session. Give me 3 minutes just to start up the next one. Let's see. Okay, well, we've got 1 minute or so remaining. Apologies that I had to rush through it like this, but there's a lot of content that we need to cover. So just to explain once again, what I'm afraid of what's going to happen is that Zoom is just going to end our meeting within the next 30 seconds or so. So if that happens, give it 2 or 3 minutes and just re-click on the link after I've started the next one. Let's hope that it takes us through. So we're going into the Q&A part of our session. Next, I've downloaded the chat, or I hope at least it did. I'm going to have a look at that and see if there are any questions. But while that's happening, and we're waiting, it feels like impending doom. Impending doom in Zoom that is going to cut me off very quickly. If it doesn't cut us off, let's see if the extension runs. If it doesn't cut us off, what I'd like to start off with, the next one is, how do we prevent job loss? Your own one, specifically. Everybody, I'm seeing a lot of people joining again. That's great. I'm going to give 2-3 minutes just to allow everybody else to come back in. I see there are some people on the WhatsApp group asking for the link. You just click on exactly the same link. But those of you that are here, you know that obviously, so that's not going to assist much. Getting more and more people joining, that's great. I think what we can do is, if you can so long just populate the chat with any specific questions that you might have, because I'm going to run through that for the next few minutes. While I finish off, I literally have 2 slides left. So it wasn't too bad timing, but it does feel a bit rushed. Apologies for that. But for those of you that are here, if you've got any specific questions, please pop that in our chat so long. While we give 2-3 minutes. It's not too big of a fallout. I see there's 15 people who haven't joined yet. So thanks. Is it Amaray? I'm so afraid to mispronunciate people's names. Very conscious of that. And I think as a teacher, we typically are. So excuse me if I mispronounce your name. It's easier in class for somebody to correct you on pronunciation than it is on a text-based platform like this. Great, thank you everybody for your questions. There's quite a lot to handle already. Great stuff. I think the important thing is to manage your downtime as well, like the silent times when you're waiting for things like this. It's extremely important because you don't want to start a lesson until everybody's in the classroom. It's exactly the same as in typical class. Don't start your lesson until you have the majority of the people there. It's important, especially when you know who has to be in the class. For a session like this, it's difficult to know because you're here because you want to be here, which is great. But in your own classroom, it will be important to keep attendance. And there are extensions with the different platforms that you can use to manage attendance. But especially when somebody is not attending or they're not engaging, it's important for you to find out why. And this is why you can do it in a few ways. If you've got your WhatsApp with the parents, that's one way of doing a one-on-one communication with them. But also you can send out little surveys. If there's somebody you need to follow on social media, his name is Tim Cavey. He's in America. I absolutely love this man. He also has a teacher podcast called Teachers on Fire. Absolutely love his work. On Instagram yesterday or today, he posted one of the surveys that they sent out to their parents. 17 kids in his class, just asking them, how engaged were your kids? Did you have to assist them? And it's quick surveys, like the form I sent you, the registration form that I just used Google Forms for. It's an easy way of getting feedback. And you'll see after this, I'm going to send out an email again to everybody just with some feedback regarding this, because if you don't get feedback, you can't improve. So that's very important. Nelia, how do you spell terms of fun? Tim Cavey. Well, if you follow me on Instagram, let's use this as a way of plugging my own social media. If you follow me on Instagram at super_teacher_F, I would be able to share all of these teachers, because I'm following so many great super teachers internationally that we can learn from. And Tim has got a great one. So you can search for Teachers on Fire. Good, thanks for that. Excellent. Well, we've got 63 people. We are in the meeting. If my mouse can just play along with me. There we go. I'm going to once again just finish the last part of the presentation that I didn't get to before we jump into Q&A. It's literally 2 slides that I'd like to end off with. And how do we prevent job loss? Or what do we do about job loss? Because we might feel that currently this might not be you, but we've got no idea. Our future is so uncertain. And having to strategize for a time like that's so uncertain like now, and that's rapidly changing like it is difficult. So you need to try and safeguard yourself towards if it were happen. And we don't wish that on anybody, but we would like to prevent you, first of all, losing a job. Or number 2, what do you do if you were to lose your job in the next few months or in the next year? And the way in which I think that you can do this is by being a super teacher. I have to punt the t-shirt. The hoodies are coming, but because of COVID-19, the factories closed down and we couldn't get the hoodies delivered. But I mean, being a super teacher, it's not my little community. It's more of a mindset. It's being the absolute best teacher that you possibly can be so that you can make a positive difference. If you are one of these exemplary teachers in using tech, but not only that, and like building relationship with the kids and the parents and giving value, that makes you to be not to be expendable. That's what you want to do. So you don't have to be this tech guru, but don't also be the person that's going to be reluctant, that's going to say, you know what, screw it, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to teach like I always did. Those are our colleagues that most likely going to lose their jobs first. So that's the one thing, is be the best possible teacher that you can absolutely be. And then secondly, diversify. Diversify your streams of income. That is so important. You can't anymore be reliant on one stream of income. And I am already hearing some of my colleagues screaming at me saying, yeah, but we're not allowed to, or we need to get special permission from the Department of Education, or the private school I work for doesn't allow it. I get it. But times are changing and we need to find ways in which we can earn extra income. Now, there are different ways of doing it. Doing extra classes. I mean, what I'm doing with you now here is my income. This is how I generate my income. I'm not a full-time employee of the University of Johannesburg anymore. I have one module that I teach for them on a contract basis, but the rest of the time I do professional development for teachers. I do one-on-one coaching. I do workshop development. What I'm doing with you now is how I earn my living, one of the ways in which I earn my living. But I would suggest that you also start thinking of ways of using online teaching as earning an extra income. Now, this is not the part where I punt specific companies or anything. This is just me trying to assist you in thinking about what is it that you can do to build a reputation as an expert in your industry, because that's when people are going to come to you. What's going to happen, let's say, for instance, you are the best possible teacher there is, but nobody knows that you are a super teacher. Nobody knows the skills that you have. If nobody's referring to you, then it's like you don't exist. You can do all these great things, but if nobody knows about it, what's the use? So I want to encourage you, start using social media to build your reputation. People call it a personal brand, and then there's all of these negative connotations to it. But I want to encourage you, start communicating what you are doing. For those of you that follow me on Facebook, for those of you that follow me on Instagram, you'll see that I'm sharing other teachers who are really using social media to promote the work that they are doing. And it's not like, hey, look at me, I'm so amazing. No, it's sharing what is possible. Yesterday on Facebook, one of the teachers shared using stop motion filming as content creation for grade 8s in doing first additional language Afrikaans. That's amazing stuff. I've got a teacher, and I'm not going to mention any names, who I'm personally coaching at the moment, who's using TikTok. She's getting a lot of flack from the kids, like, hey, Oma, Tani, what are you doing on TikTok? But she's using TikTok to teach Afrikaans first additional language. I've got another teacher who I'm busy coaching. She's 2 years away from retirement, but she's like, you know what? I want to improve myself, because the next 2 years might not be the last 2 years that I teach. Because what happens after retirement? You're most likely going to live another 30 years after retirement. You will need to supplement your pension income. We don't know what's going to happen with pensions. We really don't know. Anything is possible. So we need to safeguard ourselves. Start using social media to promote what you are doing, because what's going to happen is people are going to see you. Principals at other schools are using social media to not only just snoop, they're using it to actively recruit. If you stand out from the rest of the people and you communicate it, of course you're going to receive job offers, or the other way around. If you showcase this and you apply for a job, you can tell the principal or the boss or whoever is going to employ you, please have a look at my social media. I'm not hiding it. I want you to see how I'm using social media to showcase what I do. It's like building a professional portfolio of evidence. So what I'd like to suggest, if I can go to the next slide before we go into Q&A. I'm doing workshops on exactly this, how to use social media. I've been doing it for the last 4 years, definitely for the last year full time, but for the last 4 years, how to build a brand. I've got the Super Teacher brand, but how to use your unique skills to promote yourself and secure extra income. It's not a fly-by-night, quickly I'm going to earn more money. It's not that. It's a slow, gradual grind to ensure that you provide value and then earn an income from it. So if you were interested in that, it would be great. You've got me on WhatsApp, you've got me on email, you've got all of these other platforms that you can contact me on. If you'd like to hear about rates and coaching and how this works, and if you want me to develop something specifically for your school in assisting your school in how to do or use their social media to increase the reputation or the communication, or you've got a project at your school and you want to give more engagement to it, you're more than welcome to reach out. I call this my influenced campaign. So if you'd like to use it, that would be awesome. Now that is me, the end of what I wanted to discuss with you. I'm going to stop my sharing of this, and we're going to get into the chat to answer some questions. Okay, that's way too big. I don't want it that big. Let me drag it over here and have a look at our chats. I might not be able to get to everybody, so excuse me if I don't answer everybody's questions. Wow, we've got a lot, but we've got time. I mean, anybody else going somewhere? Wondering? I know I've got colleagues who've got other meetings that they need to go to, and you're more than welcome to do that. But let's start at the top and we run through it. To me, something that is frustrating is that there is so much great tech out there, but they cost a fortune. Yes, it's so true. People ask me often, what's better, Zoom, Google Meets, Microsoft Teams, Skype? What's the other one I heard about yesterday? Now I can't remember. But there are all of these platforms, and the paid versions are quite expensive, and a typical school is not going to be able to afford that. If you're in a position for a school that can pay fees towards platforms like this, I would suggest getting G Suite, the Google Suite. There are so many apps. Google Docs for collaborative document creation and assessment. And that's really, for feedback at least, is good. They've got Jamboards, which are interactive whiteboards that you can work on. So that's quite cool. I like the Google Suite. I like Zoom as well. Obviously, I'm using it. For the schools who can't afford like G Suite and stuff like that, Zoom is great. You can use Google Hangouts Meet as well. If your school has got an account, but the rest of the kids don't have an account, that's one way of doing it. There are so many free resources available. And typically what they do, it's called freemium. It's free, but then if you want the premium part, you have to pay for it. So go into discussion with your principal, see what the budgets are like, but use the free apps and the free software that you possibly can. There are lists and lists and lists of these resources. Remember, pick one or a handful of apps and stick with them. Okay, what resources use the least amount of data? Well, number one, face-to-face in classroom doesn't use any data at all. But then typically you want to go text-based first. So anything that's text-based takes up the least data. Then probably voice recordings take up a little bit less than images. And then after images, it's videos. So what you can do is stratify or diversify. Have videos, take your videos and take screenshots of certain parts or images that you wish. Make a podcast of the video that you can give as an audio, which takes less data, and transcribe. What's amazing is if you use Google Docs, there is a speech to text functionality where as you talk, it types out what you put. For Afrikaans, this is going to be a bit, it's down the line, but you can do this. So as you talk, it puts it down into text. So now you've got a transcription of your lecture or of the lesson or whatever. And then maybe you'll just need to do some editing from that. If you upload your video onto YouTube, YouTube transcribes it for you. Now, with my accent, my YouTube videos are not 100% accurate, but at least you can go into the file and you can go and edit that. Some more extra tips and tricks for you on what to do. Is there an app available to record a lesson from my desktop to send via WhatsApp? Okay, the first thing I want everybody to do, if you don't know this yet, get WhatsApp Web. WhatsApp Web is the desktop interface for WhatsApp. So you don't have to just do it on the phone. You can actually put it on your desktop and then drag files onto WhatsApp and send it that way. So you don't have to have everything on your phone. WhatsApp Web, very important. There are apps like Screencastify that you can use to record your screen. You can use stuff like Handbrake to reduce the size of the file. You can drag it onto WhatsApp to send. There are limitations to this. It's not a foolproof system, but it's definitely something that you can do. Can we get a grade specific Facebook page? Please start one and share the link because people are definitely into that. I know there are many, but please, if you want to start Facebook groups, do it. Absolutely do it. How do I start a Zoom lesson as a teacher? Not sure if I missed the start of your presentation. So this is being recorded. I'm going to edit it and put it on the YouTube channel so that everybody can have a look at it there. But if you want to start a Zoom lesson, in the email, I sent out a link to how to use Zoom. It's on YouTube as well. I just don't have access to it immediately, but you can just Google it and find out how to use Zoom itself. And basically what I did with you guys sharing the link to the Zoom is how people join. There are, I know Zoom has got some issues with security at the moment, but they're busy working on it as many other platforms are, but it's possible to do this. Good. Yeah, how to Audrey also want to know how to save their data. Oh, so to spare, I guess that's what you mean, to spare the data, because kids and parents don't necessarily have data. The other issue is there's probably one device in a household and there's 4 kids who have to use the one device. These are the things we need to think of. One thing I always say is talk to the parents. They need to now start budgeting as part of their school fees, or part of their budget for the child's education is data, devices and data. If you really want your child to have a better chance at getting good quality education, parents need to now start budgeting for this. It's not ideal. I know it's not. It's not equitable. There's a lot of social justice around this, or just social injustice around this. But if we can start communicating that, is that a big part of your monthly expenses, if you can afford it, has to go towards data, keeping in mind that teachers want to do everything from our side to keep the data sizes to an absolute minimum. The other thing you can do is use cloud. Use Google Drive and put things on the Google Drive to allow kids to access it there. They don't have to download it. They can just view it there. It typically takes up less data than having to download everything. So that's one way of doing it. Okay. I'm going to skip to the middle. Apologies if I don't get to everybody. Okay, so Dorette, I would like to explain problems writing on something. I however, do not know what app to use. We use Microsoft Teams at our school that all the learners could have access to. Please help with ideas how to do this. Few different ways. I'm going to show you quickly. If I go on Zoom, my mouse is going to die on me. Okay, here we go. If I go onto Zoom, there is a whiteboard functionality. If I click on that, it shares the screen with you. Here is the whiteboard, and I can write on it. I can put in text, for instance, there. Now I'm writing. You can put in a stamp. So if you want to mark something, look at that. You can put in a stamp with a star. If you want to add a star, you can do that. That's quite cool. The spotlight eraser, a few other tools that you can use, but then also you can share this and give remote control access to one of the other users to use it, and they can write on the board. So if you want one of the kids to write on the board, they can do it. So Zoom has got that functionality. I'm going to stop my sharing. Zoom has got that functionality, but there are others as well. Whiteboard is an app itself that you can use that for. Okay. I'm loving some of the comments you guys are making in here. That's exactly what we want. You to please assist everybody in the questions. That's part of the community. Thank you so much for everybody chipping in. Okay, Albert, as jy jou screen share, kan jy videos ook share? Yes, you can do that. So you can play a video on your side. So if you go share screen, what it'll do, play around with this. My homework to you was to go and play around, either with Zoom or any one of the other apps. Go play around with this. If you've got a partner at home, if you've got children at home, whatever, invite them to your own little meeting and then play around. So if you go share screen, you share the screen that you want to share. And if you're playing a video on the screen, what works well is having 2 monitors. I've got my laptop screen open on this side and I've got my external monitor open in front of me. So it helps to juggle around. If you don't have that, then it's going to happen on one. But if you share your screen, as soon as you play the video, it plays the video on their side. Some issues with internet, if the connectivity on the other side isn't good, it's not great for videos. I'd much rather send the link to the YouTube video, to one of the videos, have the kids watch that. But if you like a synchronous lesson, want to play the video, stop the video, comment, then you can do that. So sharing your screen, you can definitely do that. Thanks for that. I see people using Google Meets. That's great. Remember, the way that works is the way that works. If your school made a decision to use Teams or Google Meet or Zoom, go with that. All of these platforms are technically the same. Some have got some extra like corner or extra edged functionalities, while others don't. It's much of a muchness. The art of this is you designing the lesson. Keep that in mind at all times. It's you are in charge of this. Seeing people mentioning Flipgrid, go use Flipgrid. If you don't know about Flipgrid, go do it. It's so much fun. It's video. It's basically using the vlogging style. So you've got the phone camera open, showing towards you, and the kids can make video responses, or they can video record what they do. It's fun. I really like Flipgrid. Go and use that. Pietru, thanks for being here. I see you here. She's, if I understand, if this is the right Pietru, I hope so. One of the admins for one of the Afrikaans Facebook groups. Nice having you here. Shannon, TikTok is great fun for kids asking questions as well. They never have data for schoolwork, but they always have data for TikTok. My big tip is go where the kids are. This is why I'm coaching teachers on how to use TikTok. The kids are there. The age range for TikTok is from 8 to about 16, 18, and skewing much older. But the kids are watching TikTok. Whether they have their own accounts or using their parents' accounts to watch TikTok, they are there. We need to go where the kids are. Get onto TikTok as soon as possible. I like this. Monique, thank you so much. Yes, I agree with you. I'm going to repeat this. Just the sentiment of it. I don't know whether you all are enjoying all of these social media posts from celebs and prominent people and parents realizing what teachers actually do. And I think what COVID has done for us as teachers is showcasing the hard work that we actually do. People are really getting an idea of what goes into teaching. It's no longer just a half-day job. It's no longer just 4 holidays a year. It's no longer just babysitting. People are understanding how grueling it is. And they generally only work with their own 2 or 3 kids. We work with 30, 40, 50 of them in a classroom. People are appreciating teachers. Now's the time for us to showcase the positivity of education. Now's the time for us to use social media and proclaim the work that we are doing. Do it. I like this. Shabnum, apologies if I pronounced that incorrectly. I started an Instagram page 5 months ago, a professional page, and I've learned so much. It's unbelievable. And looking back, I cannot understand what took me 4 years to start it. Exactly. I wanted to start my YouTube channel in 2014, and I was like, and ahhing. I started my YouTube channel in 2016, and my life has changed. YouTube is the reason why I could quit my full-time job at the university and do this for a living. But I had to start 4 years ago. That's the point. The best time to start your social media and accounts is yesterday. The second best time is today. Go and start it. One thing I want to mention though, why create a professional Instagram page and not just merge it with your personal one? I get a lot of flack for this also, but in 2007, I started my Facebook as a teacher, but I included the elements of my life. I became friends with kids on Facebook. Today, that's a big no-no, but back then, no rules. It was the Wild West for social media. But back in the day, I was friends with my kids on Facebook. I mean, they want to learn from people that they like. You are a holistic human being. We want to model what it means to be a responsible adult. So why not show them all the elements of your life? Or are you hiding something? That's the question I always ask. Yes, I get a lot of flack for this, but maybe it's not in your personality. And that's where self-awareness is important. You need the self-awareness to know I should have a separate professional and personal account, or I should combine the two. I combine my entire life on all my platforms because that's what makes you unique. And that's what lets people follow you. It's not just I'm a biology teacher, okay, and now teacher educator and all of these other things. But the reason why people like me, the people who do like me, the people who like me, do it not only because of my teaching content. It's because of the fitness journey I'm on. It's because of divorce that I'm talking about my divorce and the issues I have there. There's so many elements to me as an individual that makes me unique from all the other biology teachers out there, from all the other teacher educators out there. That's maybe something to consider. I'm loving the links that you guys are sharing. You can copy and paste them into your URL. Thank you, Anita, for doing that. So the voice to text thing, no, it's not an app. If you use Google Docs, go and play around with the Google Suite. And that's maybe something, what I'll do is I'll create little sessions like this where I'll do specific, like Google Docs, how to use Google Docs, how to use Google Sheets, how to use Flipgrid, stuff like that. If you're interested in that, please let me know which platforms you'd like me to start off with. Okay, I'm gonna skip through a bunch of these just to ensure that we try and get to everybody. We've got 10 minutes left of this session as well. Time flies when you're really passionate about teaching. Okay, Mariku, hoe kry mens hierdie mooi agtergrond? How do we get this background? I'm going to let everybody quickly, I don't think you'd be able to do it, but let's try. In the bottom left-hand corner, you see the stop video, and there's a little arrow. Click on that. And then you see there's something that says choose virtual background. So if you click on choose virtual background, now not all people have this. You might need to update your Zoom for it, but I can switch between a few. There are even videos that you can do, which is now quite new. So my new dynamic one will be launched probably by the end of this week. That's got some moving parts. But another company that I'm involved with is World Tracker. It's for mentoring of teachers and students. So it's bringing the student teacher and the mentor teacher together on an online platform. World Tracker would be great if you can go and check that out. So I switch between companies. So if I do an online online meeting with universities or schools explaining and demonstrating World Tracker, then I put on this background. When I do workshops like this or sessions like this, or that's pertaining to the Super Teachers Unite, I have this in the background. I'll start doing interviews with people for the YouTube channel, because obviously with COVID, we're social distancing and we're in lockdown, so I can't travel to do interviews. So I'm going to do interviews here, having the background. So there's branding, just continuously putting up branding. But there are other pre-designed ones. Suddenly I'm in space, and now I'm on grassroots level, and now we build a bridge between parents and children, and that's just what we do. Okay, so you can design your own, put it on the back. Different ways of doing that. So yeah, but it's very cool. The first time I saw somebody using it as well, I'm like, I need it. I want it. I must have it now. Let's take 2 more questions before we sign off. Lumen, please list couple easy to use and free social apps. Now, I'm not sure what you referring to here. Social apps where kids can interact with each other, or you mean like social media? Because all the social media platforms are free. That, like every single one, you can go for it. But social apps for kids to engage with, or maybe what I can do is just quickly at the top of my head just mention some of the apps that people are using quite effectively. First, top of the list, Flipgrid. People are using that very well. The entire Google Suite. Like Google Docs, you can work on the same document at the same time. You just need to invite the person to your document. You can create the document together. I really like that functionality. You can go Jamboard for Google. Jamboard, very nice interactive one to use. Seesaw. I haven't had much experience on it, but I'm hearing good things about Seesaw, especially for the younger kids. So those are all possible. Sanita, how do I know which apps are safe and secure? Very important question. At this stage, we don't know. Most likely when it's a paid for product, there's a lot more safety and security with it. The reason why I like Zoom is end-to-end encrypted. it means that Zoom can't get into this and use our data for anything else. No other external other external people can get in and get access to our data. But this is true for many of the other platforms. You need a consultant. You need somebody that knows the platforms that would be able to assist you. You need maybe to contact the app developers themselves. I mean, email them. They've got social media. Ask the questions before you start using something and you're concerned about security. Ask the difficult questions. Hear from your colleagues what they've been using. Make sure you check out media on the different apps. It's important to see. Zoom currently is going through a hell of a lot in the media because they had people joining their sessions and then streaming pornography on it while they were kids. So that's possible, but that typically happens when people share the links openly. There's a reason why I didn't just post the link to this on social media. There's a reason why I didn't just post this willy-nilly on the WhatsApp group. Because if this gets shared to other people who got the link, they can get into our meeting and they've got malicious intent and they can then cause havoc. But this is true for many of the platforms. One of the advantages for using G Suite is that if your school has got a domain and all the kids have got the school's email addresses, then you can only allow domain access. In other words, people in the domain can access the session. So you need to have the specific school's email address to gain access. So you've got a bit more control. So that's one way of going about it. Okay, I think we are going to go for the last one. Lorraine. Kan mens geld vra as jy Zoom extra klasse vir die kids wil gee? Can you ask people to pay money for these sessions? Yes, frankly, you can ask people money for anything. As long as you've got something valuable, you can exchange it for money. It's the how-to. I'm currently working with companies who are creating, for instance, you know, these after-school centrums or centers where people go for, where kids go for extra lessons. They are moving online now, and they are building financial models around how to do this. But you as an individual can do it. I do coaching sessions one-on-one with teachers that I charge money for, of course, because I also need to eat. That would be great. But sharing your information on a platform like this, of course, you can ask money. The challenges I foresee for it is getting permission from the department. I can't for 1 minute stand here and tell you, no, just go on and do it. There are rules and regulations and policies around it. There's one way of doing it. But you absolutely can. And I think this is one of the ways in which teachers can diversify their streams of income. And now the awesome thing of you doing this online, if you only did your extra lessons at your home or at a center or something, you can only go for the geographical region around you. You can't go globally. And this is what online teaching allows you to do, is creating a brand, it's creating a reputation, and then having people from all over the world tuning into your lessons, having one-on-one or small groups of 4 or 5 people in a session. So that's definitely possible to do. I hope you got value from this. I literally, as I said in the beginning, I started off by saying, if I get 5 people that I can share my info with, I'm going to do it. We got in the one stage 76 people on the previous meeting. We are currently 55 and the numbers are dwindling as it always does. But thank you so much for being here. I mean, my whole purpose is to motivate, inspire, and support teachers. And this is one of the ways in which I do it. I really appreciate all of you being here. I'm going to share this as soon as I get the editing done with. I'm not going to edit too much, but I'm definitely going to put it on there. If you want, by the end of this session, I could probably punt my services if you're still here and interested. If you want me to do one-on-one coaching with you, there are packages available. If you want me to do group coaching for teachers at your school, if you want me to do professional development for your school, if you want to do project-based learning, social media, you mention it, I will sit with you and we will tailor make something that suits your school. That's what I'm here for. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I'm seeing all the gratitude coming through. I really appreciate that. really, really, without your support, I mean, doing everything like this is not, it's not possible. If I can be so bold as to ask, when you see the interviews that I do with people, if you see it on Facebook or anywhere else, please share it. That really gives more clout, and that gives more exposure to the work that I'm doing and that we as a community are doing. So it would be great if you can share that. Thank you so much. I'm going to leave the chat open for the next 2 or 3 minutes. You're welcome to leave. Now, this is the awkward part, is how do people leave the meeting? So you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's end meeting or leave meeting. You can do that. But there are ways of signing off. And what I like doing with kids especially is having them have a specific sign off. Some people go like this, okay, I'm out now, or they just close their mic, they go, and I'm out. They give high fives to each other. That's ways of doing it. So you can do that and leave however you choose to do that. Philippa, thank you for this. One thing to remember, tough times never last. The tough people do. Stay strong and stay safe. This is the kind of positivity we need in our lives. Marna, thank you. I'm going to try and connect with you as much as I can. Otherwise, you can email me or just WhatsApp me, and I'll come back to you on all of